So you're starting to self-sabotage your sales, but you may not know that you're actually doing this because you don't really have that confidence in your team to actually deliver on the promises that you're actually selling. Does this sound familiar? Well, in this episode, we're going to talk all about it. Now, if you're new to this show is all about going over strategies and tactics to grow your agency much faster. If you're not yet subscribed, hit that little bell button so you never miss out on a new episode. All right, so I remember when I was running my agency, there was a number of different times that I was sabotaging my sales, and I had a healthy pipeline, and I could have closed these deals, but there was something in my head that was actually just sabotaging it and literally making us lose the accounts. And it's all because I didn't trust my team to deliver on the promise of what I was selling them, right? Because think about when you're owning the agency, a lot of times you're doing the sales or you're assisting the sales, and what people are buying is you, and they're buying your promise, and these clients have problems and you want to help them solve them, but then if you know in the back end that your team is actually struggling, you sabotage sales, which leads to you struggling and having to lay off people. And what I'm going to tell you now of what we did is I started looking at what is the systems I needed to do in order to make sure I had the right people in the right seat, to make sure that they had the right process, the standard operating procedures that they could actually follow. How were we making sure that we were going to deliver the results and be able to communicate the results to the team as well as communicate the results to the client? And all you need to start doing is just thinking about everything big starts off small. And so don't get overwhelmed at all the things that you have to do and be like, oh my gosh, I gotta put a SOP in everything. You don't. You just need to, eventually you do, but you just have to start somewhere. Start at, where do you think you lost trust the most? And so let's say it's in delivering results on, let's say you're a social media agency and you're doing Facebook. And maybe it's just in the measurement of how you guys are actually tracking it. Or maybe it's just what you're getting from the client. It's not good enough to make you do your job. So how could you structure that in order to make sure that you're getting the assets that you need at the right time? How can you create a system for that in order to be successful? Or are you really taking on the clients that you shouldn't have, right? I always talk about there's no bad agency client, there's only a bad prospect or a bad process. And you probably have a little bit of both if you're watching and listening to this. And so if you really went back and going, well, were they a really good prospect to start off with? Did they have the assets that we needed in order to be successful? So if you're doing Facebook marketing for a company that does a really bad job and they have bad assets, well, you're setting yourself up for failure and you're not going to be able to deliver the results that you promised them because it's outside of your control, right? They don't have good assets. They don't do good work. They're bad at sales. And so then that's going to lessen your confidence. And then you're going to think, oh, it's in my team, and it's really not in your team. It was in your sales, right? So you have to kind of be an investigator and figure out where you need to focus. Is it in your process? Is it in the prospects coming in? Like, should you have pushed them away? Or what in our process can we actually make better? And what systems can we actually set up to fix it? And just start with one. Do one really well and let your team know. Be like, how can we make this better? And don't bear all the burden on your shoulders. Have your team help you with that. But if you want to really kind of dive into the systems and the processes that we use to really help us grow a lot bit faster, you should definitely check out the agency playbook if you haven't. If you already have, make sure you go back through the delivery system because it walks you systematically through our process that we use to avoid scope creep, to avoid those profit leaks, to really give us the confidence that we could do an amazing job for our clients where they were getting the results that I promised them in the sales. And then, if you're delivering results, then your agency keeps growing and you keep holding on to those clients if you're doing the benchmarking, which I'll link in a video about that. So And that goes back to the situation where you're doing an amazing job and the client says, I'm switching directions. That means you're not benchmarking and letting them know. So if you haven't watched that or listened to that, I'll link that in the show notes for you. But go check out the Agency Playbook. Go to theagencyplaybook.com. It will show you our systems if you haven't already jumped into that. So many people have. And just check it out and see if that's right for you. If it's right for you, great. If you don't feel it's right for you, if you have questions, let us know. We'll be happy to answer for it, but no pressure. We'll be around forever, and you can always jump into it much later. But I just want you to have that confidence in place that when you're selling, you're not sabotaging yourself. And I want to make sure that you're delivering the results to your clients that you promised so you benefit. And until next time, have a swank day.